Welcome. My name is Peter Strong. I'm a professional online psychotherapist. I've been offering psychotherapy through Skype for over 10 years now. And I do this because most people really enjoy Skype therapy. They find this to be a much better experience than going to see a therapist in their office. It's much less intimidating. It's much more convenient for you and also more comfortable for you, since you can conduct your therapy sessions from your own home or familiar surroundings that you feel comfortable in, and that's really important. So good psychotherapy, whether it's in person or online, needs to enable you. It needs to teach you strategies and ways of working with the mind. It needs to teach you how to work with difficult emotions, whether that's anxiety or depression or OCD or an addiction or grief or other difficult emotional problem, using methods that you can apply yourself. This is the important thing, that you learn how to work with your emotions yourself. And good psychotherapy will teach you how to do this. You do not need to see a therapist in person to receive good psychotherapy. You simply need to have access to someone who understands how to teach practical ways of working with the mind. So as long as you can see each other, then online therapy is, in my opinion, just as good as meeting in person, and may also be actually better because you, as the client, feel more comfortable and at ease with the process. The style of therapy that I teach over Skype is called mindfulness therapy, and that works very well for anxiety and depression particularly, and it will teach you those practical skills that I've been talking about that you can apply yourself between sessions to really change the way that you feel, to overcome anxiety and depression, and to get back to a state of well-being and emotional resilience, and the ability to meet life without emotional suffering. Emotional suffering is not the natural state of things. It's a product of habitual, learned, conditioned reactivity to life. Life may produce lots of ups and downs, pain and pleasure and so on, but that is not the same thing as emotional suffering. So emotional pain is something that we encounter and usually resolves quite quickly. Emotional suffering does not resolve quickly. It persists, and it persists through a process of habitual reactivity. It's a habit. That habit is what causes it to persist. So overcoming reactive emotional habits is the focus of mindfulness therapy. And the techniques for doing this can be learned quite easily and effectively online through these Skype therapy sessions. If you're interested in learning how to work with your emotions more effectively, then simply go to my website and email me to schedule a session. So the way that we work with emotions is by overcoming the the first major problem, which is the tendency to identify with our anxiety or depression or emotional suffering. The emotions are habits. They get triggered in the mind by various stimuli, whatever that might be: pain, disappointments, stress, conflict, memories, whatever it might be. Those are simply triggers, and they trigger the emotional habit that creates the emotional suffering, whether that's anxiety or depression. We learn how to break these habits by actually meditating on the emotions directly. So emotional habits thrive because of unawareness. We simply are not aware of the reactive process that's going on in the mind. The stimulus simply activates the habit, and that creates the emotional suffering. But once we start to bring more conscious awareness to our emotional habits, we can begin to change those habits. Consciousness allows us to break free from our habits. And that's the first part of mindfulness training, is learning to bring more consciousness to our emotional suffering so we can break these emotional habits. And we do that, as I say, by actively meditating on the emotions. That is the way to do it, not trying to escape our emotional pain or just talking about them endlessly or indulging in the emotional suffering. That's another habit, and it doesn't resolve the suffering. We need to change our relationship. We need to break this habit of reactive identification so that we don't fall victim to the emotional habit. So that's a very important part of mindfulness training. The other part that I'll explain to you and teach you during our sessions is how to facilitate the healing of emotional suffering. So this is the compassionate aspect of mindfulness that's so important. And the combination of developing more consciousness and developing more compassion towards your own inner emotional suffering is what really produces the changes and changes that last. So medications are not a good choice if you want to change those underlying habits, but because medications cannot change habits, they can only reduce symptoms for a short while. So if you'd like to learn more about this approach, then simply email me and we can schedule a session. And you'll see, even after the first session, just how powerful the mindfulness therapy approach can be for overcoming anxiety and depression and other forms of emotional suffering. So please reach out to me by email and let's schedule a session. Thank you.